In recent news, the United States has turned up the heat in the Middle East, launching a targeted strike on support facilities for Iranian-backed Syrian militias. This recent development in international relations carries significant implications, not just for the United States and Iran, but for the entire Middle East region and the global political landscape. The decision to undertake this strategic move was sanctioned by the highest echelons of American power, the newly inaugurated President Joseph R. Biden. This marks one of the most significant military decisions of his nascent presidency and further cements his administration's stance on international relations, specifically regarding Middle East. This audacious move echoes loud and clear across the world stage. It communicates an unequivocal message of a fresh, red line in the Middle East. It's a metaphorical boundary, a limit that will not be crossed without severe consequences. This red line signals a bold declaration of American intent and a steadfast willingness to defend it against any potential aggressors. The focal point of this operation? A nondescript cluster of buildings located at an unofficial border crossing. An ordinary sight to a casual observer, but a critical lifeline to the militias that used it as a clandestine route to smuggle munitions from the tumultuous boundaries of Iraq to the war-torn landscapes of Syria. What was the objective behind this aggressive maneuver? Simply put, to debilitate the operational capability of certain groups. These groups, particularly the formidable Kataib Hezbollah and the ruthlessly efficient Kataib Sayyid al-Shuhada, have been notorious for their relentless assaults on American forces deployed in the region. By striking at very heart of their supply routes, the U.S. aims to undermine their ability to engage in hostile activities. The overarching message, however, goes beyond these particular organizations or even this specific incident. The message is a stern reminder to Iran and the world. The old rules of engagement have changed. Iran can no longer use militias as proxies to carry out covert operations or launch surreptitious attacks on Western interests in the region. The United States is ready and willing to confront such tactics head-on, ensuring the safety of international assets and upholding the principles of its foreign policy. So, what's the takeaway from this situation? The world is witnessing a reshaping of the geopolitical landscape. Established powers are recalibrating their strategies, and new alliances are being formed. As we navigate these uncharted waters, one thing is clear: Iran can no longer use militias as proxies to attack Western interests in the region. Meanwhile, tensions are escalating between the U.S. and Israel amidst fears of a broader regional war. The recent developments have the world on edge, as the stability of the Middle East hangs in the balance. An incursion on a hospital in Gaza has raised eyebrows globally and has only served to fan the flames of a conflict that could potentially destabilize the region further. This attack was unfortunately timed just before President Biden's scheduled arrival, a visit that was to help in diplomatic negotiations. The attack on the hospital has sparked widespread anger and fears globally, opening up the possibility of a wider conflict. The international community is holding its breath, watching as the situation unfolds. The situation has become tense and volatile, with the region on the brink of war. A war that could potentially involve other nations, altering the balance of power in the Middle East, and sparking a chain of events that could unforeseen global ramifications. In the midst of this, Israel's national security advisor has made a prediction that holds grave implications. He predicted U.S. involvement if this conflict escalates to include Iran and Hezbollah. This potential involvement of the U.S. is a distressing thought, as this would signify a further escalation of the conflict and possibly a shift towards a full-scale war. In response to the mounting tensions, the U.S. has taken a defensive stance. They have deployed 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of Israel, a significant show support and military backing. This move has been seen as a clear message of support towards Israel, an important ally in the region. The two countries have a long-standing alliance, and this move visibly shows the U.S.'s commitment to protecting this relationship. Alongside this, experts have been analyzing the situation. They believe that the U.S. would likely intervene if Israel struggled to repel attacks on multiple fronts. This is a significant development as it shows that the U.S. is willing to put its resources on the line to protect an ally. This could potentially shift the balance of power in the region and have significant impacts on the geopolitical landscape. At this point, the world is watching closely, waiting to see how the escalating tensions will be resolved. Meanwhile, fears of a broader regional war continue to loom large. Experts believe the U.S. would likely intervene if Israel struggled to repel attacks on multiple fronts. On another front, Iranian naval forces pointed a laser at a U.S. Marine Corps attack helicopter conducting routine operations in international airspace above the Arabian Gulf. This event took place under the piercing gaze of an azure sky. punctuated by the occasional cotton candy clouds lazily sailing by. The helicopter, a symbol of the prowess of the U.S. Marine Corps, sliced through the air with the precision of an orchestra conductor's baton. Its blades were like silver scythes, cutting through the wind with an unforgiving intensity. On the other side of the spectrum, the Iranian naval forces lay on the broad expanse of the sparkling Arabian Gulf. The sun, a molten golden disk in the sky, mirrored itself on the shimmering surface of the sea. The naval forces, a formidable presence, watched like vigilant guardians. Their eyes, locked onto the U.S. helicopter, were reminiscent of predators on the prowl. Then came a streak of concentrated light, bright and potent as a bolt of lightning. It pierced the sky like a neon sword, aimed squarely at the helicopter. A chilling representation of defiance, the pointed laser was an open challenge by the Iranian forces. It cut through the peaceful serenity of the international airspace, leaving a trail of potential danger in its wake. This incident, however, did not lead to any catastrophic consequences. There were no fumes of disaster, no rattling explosions, no screams echoing across the azure sky. The incident, while perilous, left no physical marks, no injuries or damage. But the gravity of the situation was not lost on anyone. It was a silent bullet, leaving no visible wounds but striking a blow to harmony of the international airspace. Interestingly, this incident was not isolated. It was not a first-time occurrence, but a recurring pattern of audacious provocations. The Iranian ships have pointed lasers at U.S. military aircraft in the past, straining the delicate balance of peace and power. The U.S. Navy did not mince words in its response to this incident. They condemned the behavior as dangerous and reckless. The veracity of their words was palpable, as they emphasized the gravity of the situation. It was an act that risked lives, an action that could not be overlooked. The U.S. Navy made it explicitly clear that such behaviors need to cease immediately. To sum it all up, the U.S. is flexing its military muscles in the Middle East, sending a clear message to Iran and its proxies. This action is not without precedent. Historically, the U.S. has shown a substantial interest in the Middle East for strategic, political, and economic reasons. A crucial part of the world, with immense natural resources and geopolitical importance, the Middle East has always been a focal point for global superpowers. In recent times, the U.S.'s display of military might has been a subject of intense scrutiny. The decision to mobilize is a calculated move, aimed at demonstrating the country's readiness to combat any potential threats. This display of power holds different implications. It is a warning to Iran and its proxies, a sign of solidarity with its allies in the region, and a signal to the international community about its unyielding stance on maintaining peace and stability. Meanwhile, the situation in Israel is on a knife edge, on of an even more critical phase. Israel, a long-standing ally of the U.S., has often been at the forefront of such conflicts. The recent tensions and escalating fears of a wider conflict involving the U.S. bring back memories of past wars and skirmishes that have ravaged the region. The complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict add another layer to this already intricate geopolitical web. As for Iran, its actions paint a picture of defiance and resistance. Iran's geopolitical actions and strategies have been a constant source of concern for the U.S. and its allies. The country's nuclear program, its support for various militant groups, and its perceived threat to regional stability have invariably resulted in diplomatic confrontations with the U.S. The overall scenario in the Middle East is mesh of alliances, rivalries, and power plays. The U.S.'s intervention is seen by some as a necessity for maintaining a balance of power, while others view it as an unwelcome intrusion. The stakes are high, and the potential for escalation remains a looming concern. The implications of these tensions extend far beyond the boundaries of the Middle East. They have the potential to spark a worldwide ripple effect, affecting global politics, economies, and societies at large. The international community watches with bated breath as the situation evolves, hoping for a peaceful resolution. As for Iran, its actions continue to provoke the U.S., making the situation in the region even more volatile. The next chapters in this geopolitical saga remain to be written, shaped by the actions and reactions of the key players involved. Stay tuned for more updates on this evolving situation. Remember, the world is a chessboard and every move matters. What will be the next move? Only time will tell.